Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is December the 9th, 2022. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good health, and good spirits. I know a lot of people are getting sick right now. They're getting that ick wave. I mean, it's either flu, COVID, or you have like a cold, like a really nasty cold, and I feel for you. Listeners know I went through that a few weeks ago, at least maybe, and it was not fun. And really crossing my fingers and toes that I do not catch anything, at least before Christmas. I just gotta get through Christmas. I think that's really important for me. I have family, friends, and stuff that I see, and I just never want to like spread anything to like them. So that's always something I can consider around this time of year. But overall, this week has been good for me. It has been a solid week. Work is crazy. I kind of thought, oh, okay, maybe it's going to slow down, but it just didn't. It just hasn't. We are just running and moving, and that means a lot of cardboard for me. So I've been up to my eyeballs in that. That's been fun and engaging. But let's see, food. Let's talk food. Food corner. I'm really falling in love with pesto again. I love pesto. So good. I got to recreate. Well, I wouldn't say it's a recreation. Well, no. You can kind of say it's a little bit of recreation. Yeah, I went out with some friends to see Baroness. It was fun. It was a really great time, and we kind of did an impromptu little food drink thing before we went. And we went to this little bar. I wish I knew the name. It was like a little hole in the wall. And we're talking Newport area. And they were serving this little bread tray thing, and essentially it was just sourdough bread, pesto, pickled onions, and butter. And I was just like, this is so simple and easy. I love it. It was a little cafeteria tray, and I had like a beer, and we drank some wine, and just hung out. And I was like, this is so fucking great. It was just the kind of like adult decadence that you just really can appreciate in your 30s. I don't know. But ever since then, I was like, I need to recreate this. I need bread, I need pesto, I need pickled onions, and I need butter. And I do need the sourdough bread. I'm going to do this eventually, probably even this weekend. I'm probably going to pick up some and do this again. But instead, I did it with a French baguette, and I made pasta with like some ground beef, what is it, bolognese, whatever, and some Alfredo sauce. It was so good. I was so happy to make it. I literally got super ripped, made this food, and then I was just thinking about how good it was the whole day. I posted it like 2 times. I was so fucking excited about it. And then another meal that I had in like, was it Thursday? I think it was Thursday. I ate this. No, it was Wednesday because Thursday was a whole other little scran meal. So Wednesday I have Chinese, and essentially I knew I was just gonna make it, like little PF Chang's in a bag, but I was fiending. I was fiending crab rangoons so hard, and I didn't want to go through the hassle of waiting, like going to pick it up, waiting wise, and doing all of that. I just wanted to get home, and I wanted to do my workouts, and then I wanted to like cook and do all that. So I was like, how do I make this happen? Because I don't have crab rangoons at home. So I was like, Isaiah, you know how. And sure enough, I finally opened up my DoorDash app and I ordered some. And it felt really weird to be on the opposite end of the app. I mean, I've done it before, obviously, but it's been a really long time. Um, and I will say they're very efficient, and I'm really glad, and that made me really happy. And the crab rangoons were good. So yay! I also had shrimp lo mein, rice, and egg rolls. So I mean, yeah, it was a really good meal. I've been eating pretty well. I'm sure you guys would say I've been eating pretty well all year, and I'm blessed. I'm very thankful for that. And I appreciate you guys listening to my dumb food stories and takes. I'm sure this sounds even crazier when I'm just describing it. I'm going to level with you. It doesn't really look that great to see. I think people are kind of like fascinated by some of my plates just because they look so ridiculous. Like I'm just eating all this and they're like, it's just you in the house, right? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, that's insane. Um, but yeah, let's get into some news. We've gabbed and gushed enough about myself. Um, Let's see. I do have a Ukraine-Russia update. Okay, yeah, my computer's working. Let's go. All right, green light. I got this from Yahoo News and Reuters. Moscow says 3 killed in Ukrainian drone attacks on air bases deep inside Russia. So this is a big news kind of thing, just in the war. I mean, I kind of want to say it was like the biggest news in terms of just like conflict, like war stuff. Um, let's see. One of the targets was Ingalls Air Base near the city of Saratov. Let's see if I can find where the other one is in this article. Da, 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 da. I'm sorry in advance for the loose coverage, guys. I literally have just been kind of ripping and running all day, and I was like, let's get this big ass episode in. But there's another spot too that was hit. Okay, here we go. I'll just read the quote. In Kiev regime, in order to disable Russian long-range aircraft, made attempts to strike with Soviet-made unmanned jet aerial vehicles at the military airfields Gilvio in Ryazan region and Ingalls in Saratov region. And this is from a Russian defense minister. And I'm sorry I butchered that whole quote, but hey, here we are. So those are 2 areas hit. This is big news just because obviously this is a little bit more of the Ukrainian offensive. And I don't think they really came out and really said anything like, oh, we did that, yada, yada, but like they just did it. And that's a big move. They had hit, I believe, some planes and stuff previously. This is a bit way back. We covered it. But this is further in Russian territory. So, excuse me. Definitely a big move. Just a strategic hit that happened. And I mean, I wouldn't say that there was too much else to really report in terms of this week, in terms of like other conflict. But still, something that was on the radar, and I wanted to at least mention. Obviously, there's more details and such, but we do have a lot to cover, and I'd like to get to some silver linings and just like other news. So I don't want to dwell on this too much. But yeah, I wanted to update that happened. Let's see. Let's get to the good stuff. Got this from the Associated Press. Griner freed. WNBA star swapped for Russian. Heads home. So we officially have Brittany Griner back in the States. It was kind of like a snap sudden thing. It seemed like negotiations were going on and on and on and on and on. Last we left from the podcast, she had just been sentenced and everything, and she was getting sent to a like penal prison, like a work prison, essentially. And that was definitely scary, definitely really sad. Serving out this pretty long, lengthy sentence. But we definitely kind of knew that behind the scenes, U.S. is working, negotiating with Russian side, to make this shit happen, make this transfer, the swap happen. Essentially, though, the swap, at least that the U.S. wanted, was Paul Whelan, Brittany Griner, for Victor Bout or Victor Boot. We're gonna oscillate. I think it's Bout, but if I get that wrong, sorry. Now, Bout, he was, dubbed the Lord of War, arms dealer, trader. He was selling munitions and arms to whoever wanted them. His big focus, I think, was a lot of like African countries, regions. And, he was just selling guns and munitions to, like, warlords and things of that nature. He got busted for 25 years in, like, American organized sting. It was, like, allegedly, I believe, Colombian undercover, people were saying, hey, we want to get guns and we're going to, like, do operations and stuff. Potentially some of these operations might even lead to America, whatever. He's like, cool, here's some guns. The deal got done. And then they apprehended him and, he's sent to the States, prosecuted 25 years. He has served 11 of those years, I believe. And, essentially Russia's like, we want him and we'll give you Brittany Griner. We won't give you Paul Whelan. Now, Paul Whelan, another person we've discussed before, he was in Russia to do a wedding, I believe. And essentially, he was doing this wedding. He says he was going to get some pictures and stuff, but he had to meet with this person for these photos in a hotel. And in doing the process, like the handoff, which I believe was on a USB, he was immediately apprehended. And he has been serving ever since. I don't know the length of his sentence, but it is long. They were trying to get him during the Trevor Reed swap. I think that's where we first, podcast-wise, were introduced to Paul Whelan. And, he's been there ever since. It's seemingly like compounding, like each and every time they miss the opportunity to get him, like, oh my gosh, like he's still there. The family was notified beforehand that he wasn't going to be a part of the swap, sadly. They're discouraged about it, but they were happy that, Griner is coming home. So, the trade goes down, Russian TV, they record it. It said that, like, they have, like, Brittany Griner or whatever. The bout is, walked over. He, shakes hands and stuff. I think he, like, even, like, hugs potentially the officials. Griner and him, like, exchange a glance. Griner isn't allowed to walk over. She's with, American side. They both people get on their planes, respectively, go home to their respective countries. Or peoples, I guess, in that situation, right? Because I think they did like a dead drop thing. I'm kind of missing some of the details here, but whatever. But essentially, Griner's back home. She's home before Christmas. Hell, fucking yeah! I think that's great. Actually, we're gonna take the break early. And I suppose, excuse me. I should, kind of elaborate a little bit, catch maybe people who aren't familiar up to speed with, how Griner got into the situation. Brittany Griner, NBA, WNBA basketball player. She's really great, very talented. She had like hemp oil cartridges, whatever. Let's just say, I'm going to say weed cartridges. We can be casual here, whatever. And she had them in her bag. Now she says like, hey, I meant to take these out and I didn't take them out. And, they were still in my bag. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, like, well, she's a really good, talented WNBA player. Why would she be playing in Russia? That's weird. Well, it is kind of a common thing for, WNBA players to, if you are really talented or you're just trying to make the most out of your career, is to more or less pull double duty and play in, European leagues. And essentially she's playing basketball in Russia, because it was just paying for it. It was just a yield. And, she got caught up in this whole situation. This actually took place, it started right before the invasion, right before the Russian invasion into Ukraine. So, I mean, it was just looking very scary for her situation. Like, oh my gosh, they're going to, like, use you as, like, a hostage situation, more or less. And, I mean, that's really how it felt. And, I mean, essentially, as this was just going on, we're, like, wondering, how is she going to get out? Like, when is she going to get out? But, hey, luckily this all worked out to the good. She's now with her, her wife now. That's awesome. We'd love to see that. I know that there are people who are upset that this wasn't a 2-for-1 trade. Hell, there are people who are upset that we traded Victor Boot at all because he was such an asset and he was so bad and he needed to serve these 25 years. And like, bruh, I don't care. And I know maybe that's callous to say and think because he was quote unquote so bad, but it's like, surprise fucking surprise, there are arms dealers, there are bad men and women out there doing trafficking like this everywhere, in every country, even ours. So, I mean, in the situation, it just is what it is. I don't know. I mean, he's been in jail for, like I said, like 11 years. I don't know like any of his like asset information that could be gained from him is kind of dead, kind of expired. Um, Maybe Russia just kind of did this for points. I don't know, what have you. But it just is what it is. And like I said, I am glad that Griner is back home. That's awesome. Um, I know the Biden administration is happy to catch a dub because shit. Um, Honestly, I could probably talk about that for some more time, but we can move along. I do have a stacked docket. Let's move on to NPR. Someone shot at substations in North Carolina, knocking out power for thousands. Also, kind of a conjoining article as well from the News and Observer. Another North Carolina power substation was disabled before the Moore County attack. Now, the Moore County attack is where this kind of the main crux of what's kind of been going on this week has been happening. So we'll focus on that. Now, it is not determined who did this, whether if it's one lone person or if this is a group, but is kind of leaning towards and looks like, feels like, I guess you can say, because there hasn't been a clear suspect, but it links to kind of like the modus operandi of white supremacy. Potentially just people acting out of these kind of militia style groups that want to kind of start a racial war and want to kind of start a culture war, whatever the might be. It's just fitting that MO. And for me, it was kind of like, I mean, that's not going to surprise me at all. That would not throw me off for 2022. I did have that on my bingo card, but it fits in the way of like there's a destabilization aspect on like almost a local level that they want. Essentially, all you have to do is just calculate a strike on some power stations and you throw off the whole grid, and then people don't have means, and it's the middle of winter, and that creates an unrest, and then you as these parties and people can get involved in that unrest and enhance it, stoke it, and thus you're making more chaos. You're causing more unrest and unto more unrest, and then you get what you want by like overthrowing the government. So this is kind of like seed shit, and it just fits that, and people are very concerned. I myself am like, okay, yeah, that's really bizarre, that's really fucked up. Now they have put out like shelters for people at Moore County parks and recreation sports complex. But more than, I think they said in this article, it might be like 44,000 people, even more. I'm probably no, it's 40,000 people, and the number has gone down like over the week. But yeah, 40,000 people are without power. I don't know, that having no power is one of those like first world problems for just like one day, and it always like gets my fucking goat. But I'm sure you've been in situations where it's been more than one day. It goes into like multiple. And the older I get, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm holding my household, my budget together, whatever. When that happens and you don't have food, you don't have means take care of your shit, like what are you gonna do? Like how are you gonna make that money back? Like these are things that are very destabilizing. So it's very eerie, it's very scary to kind of like know that there's like a very dark, malicious like intent behind this kind of shit, and to know that they haven't caught the people, because then it lends to it, and it's kind of said in this article too, it lends to that whole sophisticated nature. And we all know kind of what they mean by like that sophisticated and unsophisticated. Unsophisticated always means it's some fucking average Joe schlob knocker. They don't fucking matter, and they just might as well just turn themselves in from the get. Whereas sophisticated almost always means high criminal or like militaristic. So that's not what you want to see in these kind of situations when they're using the word sophisticated. And then, like I said from the other article, that it wasn't just this one power station, or like, not to mention it was multiple stations that got hit, I believe, substations. And not just hit, they were hit like in a way that they knew what they were hitting, Once again, sophisticated. But that others were hit, and I believe a eastern North Carolina town of Maysville. And this was like about 12,000 homes. So not as many, but like still like it's a ramp up. It's a continuation. That's bad trends. We don't like that. We don't want to see that. So yeah, I mean, I definitely want to keep you guys posted with any more updates I find. So far, it's kind of just been that they're just getting the power back on, but yeah, still no solid leads or suspects. Let's see. This is definitely this one coming up that is, I feel like this is one that's above my pay grade still. I've kind of said this before. BBC News, but Syria. Protesters storm governor's office in southern city of Sueda. So, let's read a little bit here. A protester and a policeman have been reportedly killed during rare demonstrations in southern Syria city of Sueda. But they like stormed, I believe, the governor's office, and they like burned it. Let's see here. Earlier, about 200 demonstrators were reportedly calling for President Bashir al-Assad's overthrow. It also goes on to some of the like reasons and whatnot, talking about just the economic distress that is going on in Syria, and then also that kind of goes to talk about President Assad's forces, who've cracked down on democratic protests in 2011. Hundreds have died and millions have been displaced. There's just a lot of action going on in Syria. I really wish I had some kind of resource, and I'm really kind of reaching out to my own audience here, the world. If you could like just put me on a podcast, put me on a book, whatever, I will read it. I will fucking invest the time, because Syria is one of those areas. I mean, there's so much of the world, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to, get into this podcast, continue on this podcast, because I felt like it gives me the reason to pursue the knowledge, and I've learned a lot just by going week to week doing this shit, and then like, hey, this falls into my lap, that falls into my lap, or I chase this lead down or that lead. So I definitely feel out of my depth when it comes to the conversation of what's going on in Syria. But something like this where you have a government office being kicked in, people are like, causing a ruckus doing that, like, that's a big deal. That's not nothing. Let's see. I don't think anyone was killed though. People were wounded in the exchange. Let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to cover? Gosh, see, I mean, here's a link right here. This is a rabbit hole. Why has the Syrian war lasted 11 years? I don't know. I can't answer that. Here I am doing a podcast. Like, I don't know. Guys. I'm sorry. I wish I was one of those podcasters who is like the expert. Like, hey, I'm a poli-sci guy, and I'm just gonna like break down how the world works to you. I really wish, but it's not. I'm just a slob. Like, I'm an unsophisticated podcaster. I'll just say it. I'll just be real. But let's see here. In some other news, I got this from straight up Yahoo News. This is all Yahoo News, 100%. I wonder, is the other one right here? No, the other one is Politico. But we'll talk about the good, and then we'll talk about the bad. And I mean, obviously, this is all perspective and POV, but let's roll it on out. Senator Raphael Warnock defeats Herschel Walker to win re-election in Georgia Senate runoff race. So, the race finally, the election runoff race, whatever, it finally concluded, finally happened. I've had like such a fucking like hangover from the whole just government election shit, and the fact that like we had to deal with these runoffs and stuff was just like, ugh, it's not just done in one day, it's not just done in 1 week. And this is me just talking about it. I couldn't imagine being like a Georgia citizen. Apparently, like, this is like their 5th fucking election that they've had in like, I think like 3 years or something like that. I don't know. They've had a lot of voting to do. And but they did come out. There was a big turnout. And Warnock won this pretty decisively. Now, the way that the runoff situation happened was Raphael Warnock had already won, but he didn't get the 50% that you needed to win decisively. So they had to go to a runoff between the two of them. There was like Herschel Walker, Raphael Warnock, and there was another guy who was like a libertarian, and he got 2% of the vote. So it was in the opening weeks very like, oh my gosh, how's this going to turn out? How's this going to go? And to some extent, people were like, well, how much does this matter? Because if the Senate is tied up and we get to 50, then we're fine because we have the Kamala vote, like we have the vice president vote. And before this election, that already happened. So we were assured that. But 51 is still an important number. It's important because what happens if you have like a Joe Manchin situation again? And they hold out and they're not sure or what have you. Or maybe even another senator, because we might be getting to that, who might not be on board or might not be playing ball. You want to have the majority for sure. And 51 helps assure that. So it was very important that that Raphael Warnock was going to win. Or it was at least going to matter, is what I'm really trying to say here. Obviously, I'm squirting my bias all over this. But I will say, the tail of the tape, Herschel Walker just didn't show up. It was almost like everyone kind of saw the writing on the wall, and like Herschel like didn't really like go out for like the first like 5 days or so. Didn't really cook. He kind of hung out and did like the holiday shit like the rest of us, and then kind of started hitting the ground running. But it was kind of like too little, too late. Not to mention on the other side of it, the Democratic campaign in general, like they just put up the money. Like there was just so much more money put up. I think it was like $55 million was put up on Warnock's side to like the 25,000 or so that was put up on Herschel Walker's for just this leg of it, I believe. Like, I don't even know. Like, maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe we're just doing whole totals and I'm getting that part wrong. But just the tail of the tape was just the Democrats were just firing harder. They wanted it more. And I think there just wasn't too much backing. I think Kemp came out on Herschel Walker's side, which people did vote for Kemp, but they didn't vote for Walker when it came to the election. They tend to vote it for Warnock. So that's a split vote like that is not what you want. That's what you're already fighting. So Kemp kind of tried to say, hey, you still want to vote for this guy. You still need this guy. We need him. We need him in the Senate. Like, let's make it happen. But on the other side, you had like Barack Obama coming out. I mean, shit. I know that there's probably some listeners out here like, man, I don't want to hear about Obama. I don't want to hear about that. Like, he's bad, whatever. But Barack Obama plays, all right? He just gets people out. Gets the people going, all right? Love him, hate him, whatever. But it all kind of panned out in Herschel Warnock. I was about to fuse them together. In Raphael Warnock's favor. You could go into the details of it, but yeah, so essentially, yeah, we were at 51-49, but we got some breaking news today. I woke up this morning and there's some new movement in the political sphere, and this is what we'll wrap up on. And I'm gonna hit my little break real quick. I gotta double down. Big episode. Whew. Oh. No, an old woman was not being robbed. My apologies for my weird noises. I got this from Yahoo News /Politico. Sinema, as in Christian Sinema, or Kirsten Sinema switches to independent, shaking up the Senate. So this is big news, and I wish it wasn't surprising to me, but it's just, it's frustrating. It's what's more frustrating than anything. I'll read a little blurb here. In a 45-minute interview, the first-term senator told Politico that she will not caucus with Republicans and suggested that she intends to vote the same way she has for years in the Senate. Nothing will change about my values or my behavior, she said. But essentially, as of 2024, well, I mean, I guess more or less now, but like, we don't know if she's going to be running in 2024 when she's up for re-election. But for now, she's going to be an independent. She's not going to be directly affiliated with the Democrats. And I just cannot believe that she's going to stick to any script, because part of what I was saying is it's not just Joe Manchin. It is this duo that is Sinema and Manchin. And now as an independent, she's just more or less just throwing it off. She just gets to be like, look, if I want to be Republican today, I'm going to be Republican. She's saying she's not going to do that, but that's what just allows her to do what she wants. It gives her more range. She's alluded to this kind of behavior too in interviews and things of that nature. She's just playing for her at the end of the day. Also, I love that there are the Joe Manchins and there's the Kirsten Sinema. I don't know why I gave him plural, not her, but essentially I'm getting that there's always a group of people who are quote unquote centrist, moderate, whatever, who are going to gum up the works, and they completely negate any kind of aggressive movement, which I fucking hate. And then, not to mention, they just blow up the whole spot for the whole liberal agenda. And it makes you go, well, what's this all about? And this is where you just go, wow, yeah, the two-party system is bullshit. It's all fucking gross. It all plays so that 1% get what they want, capitalism wins, and we just fucking lose. And it's very disheartening. It's very upsetting. And, obviously, yeah, as we close out the year, and yeah, like, this has just been my window look into this whole fucking realpolitik in action. It sucks. It definitely does suck. And I in some ways want to apologize that I drag you through stories like this. And if it's not this goddamn shooting or a murder or fraud or what have you, but you know how it is. You know how it goes. That is the news. I do also, try to get the good news about people getting to come home for Christmas from being in Russian prison. Sometimes you come out of the gulag alive, and that's what's up, baby. And I do appreciate you guys sticking with me, and I hope I've, been providing some enjoyment. I will say I'm going to move into chill mode now. Shout out to Haneen Shalash. She's been on the podcast before. Actually, she's been a guest. She's now, officially Newsy. She subscribed, and so giving her shout out, her personal flowers. And also shout out to, the other newsies. We're growing. Yes. The club, the community. Yes. Ooh, woo. Thank you so much. Patreon, though, that is patreon.com/Isaiah News. $5. It will get you the shout out on the podcast like Nino. It also gets you Discord access if you would like that. Trying to talk and do stuff on there. Let's see. It also gets you material shout out. Like you can, if you want me to talk about something, I will talk about it. If you want me to plug your stuff, I'll plug it. I mean, hey, it's that's what we're doing. If you'd like just to support, throw some money weight my way, it would help. It would be great, and makes hopefully the podcast better, or puts more cool food in my mouth. Whatever. I have a free way though of hitting me up if you'd like to give feedback, what have you. That is isaiahnews1@gmail.com. And you can find the podcast on any of the socials. You can find me on any of the socials. I'm there. I will say, sadly, I think I've given up on Hive. Uninstalled, but hey, whatever. You can still find me on Twitter. And at some point, I got to talk more about that. But that'll probably actually be on the Patreon. Oh, yeah, that's right. You get bonus content on there. Sometimes I paywall my content. I know. I'm sorry. I'm the worst. But it's really to save you from Kanye West rants and Elon Musk rants. I got to talk about it sometimes, but I'm trying to contain that on the Patreon. But I get real there. I get even looser. Even gooser, if that's possible. But hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.